Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Philly Sports International podcast. And I am joined by two people who most of you will know if you follow Philly sports in the UK, and that is Dave Shaw, also known as UK Phillies. Dave, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Just about over the disaster that was the Mets series that we just had, but very excited for this to get going finally and learn a bit more about the Sixers, the Eagles, and as we go on, get really right into those as well. So nice distraction from the Phillies at the moment.
Love that. And Ben Glasspool, I tried to make sure I didn't say pool glass. I don't know why I would, but I did that the other day to Katie and she called me an idiot. Ben, you're in the UK 76ers. Welcome to the first PSI podcast, my man.
Thanks so much. Yeah, what a year to get going, eh? It's been certainly a topsy-turvy. Well, actually, not even topsy-turvy for the Sixers. It's just been downright abysmal. But there's so much to unload. But it's a good bit of therapy to whenever I get the opportunity to chat Sixers, and I'm sure it's the same for anyone listening. So can't wait to get going.
Yeah, love it. And look, guys, just want to jump into who we are, what we're about, and what you can expect on this podcast. So, basically, we're here to talk all things Philly sports, from the UK Sixers, the UK Phils, to the British and Irish Eagles. We have merged into Philly Sports International. We've been working over the last about 8 months now. The three of us, myself, Mick, Phil, and Tony from British and Irish Eagles, and you two guys. We realized there was a real opportunity to create something special, to create a new global hub for international fans of Philly sports, wherever you are in the world. So you're going to hear a lot more about this as we do these podcasts, and you follow us on social media. But basically, from regional and local fan communities that we're creating, we've already created those here in the UK. We launched them last Saturday to events, watch-alongs in the UK for all of the Philly sports teams, trips to Philadelphia, social media podcasts like we're on now, news, guides, blogs. When I say guides, I mean guides to Philadelphia. Where should you go when you go there? And basically, we're passionate about bringing fans from all over the world closer to the city of brotherly love. Check out www.phillysportsinternational.com for everything we provide as a member. And later on, we'll give a bit of a rundown of what it means to be a PSI member right now, because you can sign up today. But for now, what are these podcasts? Well, you're listening to get a holistic view of the Philly sports is playing out throughout the year. So whether you're a lifelong fan or new to the fold, you found your home among fellow enthusiasts who share your love for all things Philly sports. For example, while I'm the Eagles expert, I'm still getting to understand the Phillies and baseball in general. I've got about two and a half years into my Phillies fandom. So I'm still learning. You know, it probably took me 4 years to properly learn in the NFL when I was getting into it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Dave and other guests we have on this podcast to tell fans over here who are also just getting into it what it's like to be a Phillies fan, what it's like to what to look for in games, what to get excited about, what to be depressed about, because, you know, we are Philly sports fans after all, and that's part and parcel. Likewise, Ben, I followed the Sixers when I was young. I followed the NBA basketball when I was young, and, the Vince Carter days. I know he wasn't playing for the 76ers then, but almost Allen Iverson era, that kind of genre was but I've not followed it as closely over the coming years, so I'm really looking forward to getting back into that. I'm sure fans listening in will be as well. I think I'm gonna pause for breath for a second. That's who we are, what we're about. And Dave, just a brief update on how excited you are about this new venture and what we can accomplish.
Yeah, sure. Very excited, and it's the start of something really big. Not only we're international, so not just British. We want to branch out over Europe, Australia, Asia. We want to get fan clubs going in different parts of the world. Eventually sort out bars where you can watch the Phillies, the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers, have affiliations everywhere, and make it easier for people traveling to Philadelphia, like we're going to do with the guides, which it's going to be quite a big project. It's going to be very ongoing, but we want to make it pretty much perfect, and also have your hints and tips, you guys listening, on also recommendations, not just ourselves, but let's get everybody involved. We want to drop a big map of Philly and maybe the most recommended places with the most votes from yourselves, things like that. We want to make it accessible. We might go into the games accessible for you guys with the Phillies again, the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers. We want to start proper affiliations. You used to get tickets, access, tailgating, and bringing, like Liam said, fans together, because there's never a dull moment in Philly sports. It doesn't matter which Philly sport you follow. The roller coaster's real. The highs are the highs, the lows are the lows. Never a dull moment. I'm excited to. I think baseball is probably the most niche sports out of all of them. And I'm looking forward to teaching people about baseball who are getting into it, maybe just watching it for the first year. I know a few people are who maybe listen to this now. Baseball sports where even I've been following for the last 12 years now, and you need to learn something new every day about baseball. It's one of those sports that it's so complex. There's some hidden little gems and rules in that you just don't realize until you're watching. And it can be fun. The Phils are, like I said, they're hit and miss right now. But just getting people into the Phillies, into the sport. And again, myself learning more about the Eagles, more about the Sixers, the Flyers, more about Philly sports in general. I had a great taste in October. Do my first ever Phillies tailgate with the British Irish Eagles, which was a lot of fun. The thing I enjoyed the most about was watching Liam and the guys in their element, knowing and understanding how much it meant to them to be there. A lot of them for the first time, like myself. Like when I'm at the Phils, I'm in my element. I love it. It's a second home. It's just a bubble that I love being in. But then to watch that with the guys who are having the time of their lives at the Eagles tailgate, and what I saw at the game, that was awesome. That was really cool to record that and capture that and spend some time with the guys at the Flyers game, the Sixers games. So much fun. And I think that's what we want to try and replicate. We want to try and replicate how fun supporting Philly sports is and the amazing fun community that we're all going to be part of.
Love it, mate. Such enthusiasm. It's infectious. Ben, fun watching Philly sports. Not so much if you're a 76ers fan in the last 12 months. But I'm sure you are excited as well about, hey, the only way is up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it can be a really lonely place when you're a fan of any American sport in the UK or indeed any other country outside of the US. And I think that's part of the reason why I set up the page, is that you want to unite people. You want to bring people under one sort of group and then have everyone be part of the community. And as a result of that, you get to meet and interact with so many brilliant people. And I genuinely feel now I've got friends as a result of doing this. And again, that's something we want to just keep building on. Not just, through the amazing meetups that we'll do here, but hopefully as well through trips to Philadelphia. Now, during my time in Philly last year, I just got purely by happenstance, I met Dave. Just out of the blue. We just met each other. Yeah. So
this time last year, in fact,
yeah. We saw on Twitter that we're both there at the same time, and we met each other at Xfinity Live. Again, that was a really, really lovely time for my girlfriend and I. We had an unbelievable day watching the Sixers.
Did you bump into each other at Xfinity Live?
No, he just gave me a message saying, I'm here if you want to meet for a pint. Nice. And I was like, absolutely. So we had a really cool chat. I went off to the Sixers game. He went to the Phillies. Then we went to the Phillies game the next day.
With the 5 hours rain delay, I think.
Oh, he was beautiful. Yeah.
She's still hammered were you by the time that game started?
That never happens, but that is so unusual. You were there at such an anomaly. A 5-hour rain delay is just unheard of. I don't think we'll ever see it again, to be honest.
But it was a really fantastic experience, and you just want to be able to replicate that as much as we can, and that's what we're here for.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ben, something you can look forward to is as part of our British and Irish Eagles Birds Fly Home trips that we've done. Both trips so far, we've been to a 76ers game in a suite with ex-Eagles players. But so next time, let's do it with in a 76ers suite with ex-76ers players. How about that?
Oh, I could get behind that all day long. That'd be fantastic.
Love it. Right, listen. So what you can expect is we're going to talk about the Phillies, the 76ers, and the Eagles. We're going to, and because it's our first podcast, we're just going to, take you back a little bit. Phillies specifically, we'll talk about this year. No point resting too much on last year because the season's just started and there's lots to talk about. Eagles draft is tonight, folks. So we'll talk a little bit about where we are and touch on the Super Bowl win we had, but not in too much detail. And then for the 76ers, I mean, we have to kind of, unpack what the hell happened and what we can look forward to. So let's start with the Phillies, Dave, because they are the most current team right now. They're the only team who are playing at the moment out of those three teams. So just take us through where the Phillies are in their season. I know, and as someone who's getting into baseball more and more, There is so many games, and it's the same in basketball, but there is so many games that like it's hard to judge how form a certain part of the season is that going to carry on? Will it crash? Will it burn? Will it come up? Will it go down? It feels like form fluctuates more in baseball, maybe than any other sport I've watched.
Really does. Prime examples this week, and so far this month, the Phil started hot, won the first 2 series quite convincingly. The bats were hot, pitching was going well, bullpen looked good. Then it can just go just like that.
And
one
bullpen,
night later,
there might be people in here who don't know what a bullpen is. What's a bullpen?
Bullpen. So okay, yeah. So the bullpen. So you've got your starting pitcher who will go out for usually the first 5-6 innings. 7 innings, fantastic. 9-inning game. You can get starting pitcher going the first 7. Fantastic. 6, good. 5, we'll take it. Your bullpen is got all your relief pitchers in, usually 6, 7 relief pitchers. Yeah. If it's a tight game, you're on top, you're within touching distance, you're then going to put your best relief pitchers in to keep you in the game, to keep you lead, to keep you within touching distance. You'll then have your longer arms. If you're falling behind, you need someone just to take the load for a couple of innings. If it's a shutout game, which means you're either miles behind or miles ahead, you'll then put those sort of pitchers in. But the relief pitchers will come in for 1 inning, hopefully hold, do the job, allow no runs. They've got a very short lifespan as well. They can't go for much more than 1 inning. Around, I'd say 20, 25, 30 pitches. They're usually pretty spent. The harder throwers like Alvarado, who likes to throw about 100 mile an hour, you don't really want to get many more than 25 pitches out of him. His arm's starting to spent after 20. So
I remember in London, sorry to cut you off. I remember in London, it was the second game. It was him, that sort of where it all started to go a bit downhill, didn't it?
And if we're talking about form, this guy was on fire. Alvarado was just lights out. 3 outs an inning, easy. Strikeout, 100 mile an hour. No one could touch him. And then London, like most of the team that second game, it all just fell apart. And it can happen just like that.
That's because I went.
A human, yeah. It's such a human nature and element to this game. It's all down to how they're performing, and your form can just disappear. There's sometimes no reason for it. They're doing the same thing. It's just a lot is luck. Baseball's a lot to do with luck. But this last week, like we smashed them, the Miami Marlins last weekend at home at Citizens Bank Park. We thought we were back on track. Should have swept them. The bats came alive. Lots of hits. Lots of runs being scored. Really encouraging signs from our starting pitchers. Bullpen generally, apart from Romano, was good. And then we've come into this series with the Mets, our biggest rivals, our arch rivals, like the Cowboys to the Eagles. And we got swept. They won all 3 games. We were
so that's what swept means, that when you win all 3
games.
Can there be a 5-game
4
series?
Maximum of 4 playoffs? You'll get to the sort of 5 range. 4 you can, like we had the Giants series against San Francisco not long ago. That was a 4-gamer, but usually more often than not it'll be a 3-game series. You look to win the series. You want to keep building momentum. Sweeps are a bonus. They're hard to get in baseball, sweeps. Unfortunately, we were swept by the Mets. We looked pretty lifeless. Our big stars, Harper, Schwarber, Turner, Castellanos, all were carrying an ice cold bat. No contribution from the big guys. It was the bottom of the lineup. The guys who had been struggling. I want to talk about flip-flop of form. The guys who came in hot, Harper, Turner, Casti, Schwarber, went ice cold. The guys at the bottom of the lineup, Bohm, Rojas, Marchand, all sort of found some form. Got the hits. Bryson Stott as well.
That's Stott, I was going to say as well. Because there's a big question around Stott this year, isn't there?
There was coming into the season. Yeah, he had a real off season last season. So he's been compared, 2 years ago, he's been compared to Chase Utley, especially defensively, Gold Glove, which means you are plus good in that position. You are better than average. You are good. And Bryson Stott is one of the best defenders.
When you say that, just because there will be people who don't understand what I mean. When you say Golden Glove, the person who's saving the most runs in the outfield.
So Bryson Stott will play in the infield. You've got your first base, your shortstop, your second base, your third base. So you've got 4 infielders and your pitcher right in the middle there as well. Their job is to basically stop the ball, get into that outfield. Especially any ground balls, they should be sucking up. Easier said than done. Bryson Stott is a Hoover. He's a machine. Nothing much gets past him at all. The plays he makes are outstanding. So he's way above plus his position. His bat was a big concern last year.
For anyone listening, I mean, it's probably a real cop-out to say there are comparisons with cricket, and that might really piss off people who are baseball fans and probably cricket fans. But there are some small similarities when I think of like opening bowlers, you know, and they go for it, and they're trying to get the outs, right? And then you bring in, you said that your long arm guys who you just want to concede no runs and just, you know, keep going on, and the fielders very similar as well. I think of Paul Collingwood, who was one of the greatest English cricketers of all time, would be perhaps a good example of Bryson Stott would be in the field, like leaping like a cat to, like, you know, stop the ball with one hand.
Very athletic. Yeah. So some spectacular plays that Bryson can make, which not many people in his position can make. Yeah, nothing much gets past him. His bat was a concern on the other side of the plate. He struggled last year, had an injury. How
high did we get him in? How high was he drafted, Dave?
Cool, that's a great question. I cannot answer at the top of my head right now.
Oh, sorry, man. First podcast, like Dave couldn't answer.
Bryson Stott draft. I think he was in the top 2 rounds. He was a high draft.
I feel like I remember them saying he was high. I can't remember how high.
Alec Bohm was a first round pick. Stott, I want to say he was definitely in the top 2 rounds, but that's going to come back to bite me. Watch him be around 5. I don't know.
I love it. So where are they right now, Dave? Go back to the initial question. I got excited and sidetracked by all the terminology you were dropping in, and just
absolutely
understand it. Where are the Phils right now in terms of
the Phils right now are in a rut. We've lost, apart from the Marlins, we've lost 3-4 out of 5 series right now. We're on a slump, but as quick as you can go into a slump, you can bat your way back out of it just as quick. They've got a tough series against Chicago Cubs at Wrigley, one of the best vintage old school ballparks there is in baseball.
I missed going there.
I've been there. It's awesome.
Year.
Awesome.
Is it?
It's on my bucket list. I'd love to. I'd love to do Wrigley. It's right up there. Everyone who goes there says it's got the essence of baseball and how magical baseball is, and the pastime and the legacy of baseball is all captured beautifully in that.
Dave,
ballpark.
My new head office is in Chicago, and I'm obviously moving to the US next Wednesday. So let's try and hook you up a visit to
got it. Yeah, we got to do it. I want to see one game or a series at Wrigley with the Phils there. It's unique. It's got the ivory on the outfield wall, which you don't see anywhere else. Which in the middle of summer, when it's in full bloom, you can get some balls lost in there. One of the unique quirks of baseball, and every single ballpark being uniquely different in dimensions, characteristics, which I think is all the charm of baseball. But the Phils right now, tough series against the Cubs, 3-dayer. Then we're back home. We've got the Nationals coming up, the Pirates coming up, which are very winnable series. It's early days. There's 162 games. There's still about 139 still to go. Panic, losing to the Mets any time of year sucks. It's our arch rivals. We hate to see it. There's and how we played, especially as they were the ones who beat us in the playoffs last year as well. I wanted to see some payback time from the Phils in this series just gone. It was lifeless. It was flat, which really pisses me off the most when they just don't turn up at all. But we take 2 out of 3 in Chicago. We're right back on track. So it's early days, not panicking just yet.
I'm just that's good update, man. I'm just looking at the fixtures, and the Phillies got the Diamondbacks at home.
Yes, that will be for the Manchester meetup. D-backs will be interesting. So
I'm going to try. I haven't told my wife this, but we obviously land on the Wednesday, and I feel like a few days of like moving in Saturday or Sunday. I should try and get myself to the game, shouldn't I?
So
you should. It's got to be done. And of course, if you're in the Manchester area or in the Northwest area, that will be our watch along at Brotherhood Pastime and Pastures. 6:30 start, guys. If you can get to Manchester, come on down. There'll be quite a few of us down there watching that game on the bank holiday Sunday. No excuse, guys. Get yourselves down. It'll be a lot of fun. Giveaways, prizes, baseball, good food, beer, company, atmosphere. You can't go wrong.
I'm sold. I'm in.
Well, you'll be there.
I won't be there. I'll be at the game. I'll video time you, Dave.
We'll do a FaceTime link.
Yeah. What are you expecting? No, Ben, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Sorry, you mentioned Romano. I'm right in thinking he's a new fella, new pitcher. Is the jury still out on him?
The jury has made up their mind firmly that this guy ain't got it. It's absolutely a slam dunk, unanimous. This guy has not got it right now. He has not what we call no options, which means if he had options, he could go down to the minors, which would be AAA. A big step down just to find his form, which we've sort of done with Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh, people may recognize, struggled horribly this season. Good season last season, season before, struggled horribly. He's had a phantom injury. They're going to give him some rehab starts in Lehigh Valley.
And that's we need to get you out of the limelight, May. You know, get
yeah. You got it. Yeah, struggling. Don't want to use one of his options up. So with a phantom injury, doing some rehab starts, try and find him some form. It usually works for us quite well in the past. Romano,
what they do? What do you reckon they do in that scenario? Like, do they bring him to a strip club? I'm joking.
Man, this guy's got to get his head down because his position is a bit of a concern. Although Johan Rojas has really stepped up, actually, more than he's a great. If you check out Johan Rojas' speed, his speed is unbelievable. In the outfield, makes some spectacular plays. He gets on base, he's going to steal you a base. He's starting to hit really well. In fact, he's probably our highest batting average right now. Gets on base basically more than anybody else. He's an exciting player to watch.
Do you call that pinch hitting? Do you call that pinch hitting?
Pinch hitter, yes. So that means basically if you started the game on the bench later in the game, depending on the opposing pitcher's left or right-handed, you'll start to play matchups. Classic example, they brought yesterday Bryson Stott as a pinch hitter because a lefty went out, a left-handed pitcher, a righty came in. Bryson Stott eats those up. Came in, and sure enough, Bryson Stott did get a hit off the righty. So if you're in a close game as well, you start playing the matchups, especially when it gets towards the end, and you can steal a hit or a run. That's basically the pitch hitter's role. Edmundo Sosa is a classic utility man. I
always get him and Rojas mixed up. I know that sounds terrible, but like they're
two great hitters.
Are they similar kind of batters? Is that why I always
they are? Yeah, they're very the same height. They look very similar as well. Actually, they are, and they're both having excellent seasons at the moment as well. Say the bottom of the lineup where they usually play is actually doing their job right now. It's the big stars and scoring runners in scoring position. Now that means if you've got a runner on third or second base. Yeah, which you would call as scoring position because then a single or getting the ball in play from whoever's at bat would usually score the guy from third or second. So they will call that runners in scoring position. That's been our biggest problem, getting people in runners in scoring position home for runs. We haven't trouble getting players on base. It's them bringing them home for the runs.
They need 2012 Liam O'Neill. I was absolutely rapid in 2012. End of university, ankle injuries weren't as bad as they are now. Pace to burn, could hit a long ball, fast arm. Who knows? I mean, I am 5'8.5". I'm not sure the height would translate to any American sport.
Height doesn't like in baseball. You've got players all different size. Again, one of the unique quirks of baseball and American.
You're saying I've still got a chance, Dave, when I move over. You telling us?
Well, the way Romano's pitching right now, mate, get your glove and get warmed up because you've got every chance.
I love it. Expectations, Dave, for the rest of the season. I know it's kind of all up in the air, but
get in the playoffs. Just get hot in July, August, September. That's when it really matters. Momentum is key. Like in any sport, when you're approaching the end of the season, playoffs, momentum. Last year we started hot. First half of the year we were breaking franchise records, baseball records. Then we faded away, ironically, after the London series, and we just limply fell out the playoffs. This year, I'm hoping it's going to be in reverse. We're starting slow. The Mets actually last year caught fire right after the London series from June and went on this massive hot streak, got into the playoffs, tore us apart, nearly got to the World Series if it wasn't for the Dodgers. It's all about getting hot at the right time. We've just got to get the playoffs. Get to the playoffs, get some momentum, and then hopefully see what happens. But the window's shrinking for the Phils. The expectations are there. Everyone knows it. We want the trophy. We want to win it. We're in a position where we should be in that. We should be doing.
So when you say the window is shrinking, are you talking about your players are at their peak and you don't want them to fall over the other side?
Peak and past the peak. Wheeler's starting to regress. He's been fantastic, but is allowing a few more runs than usual. Not worried, but the signs are there. Nola, the signs are there. JT Real Muto.
A lot of signs for Nola.
Nola's not. Look, the thing is with Nola, as long as he can give you, like I said earlier on, if you can give someone going 7 innings, fantastic, because you're saving the bullpen. Nola 9 times out of 10 will give you that 7 innings. It'll also only allow 2, 3, 4 runs a game, which are good. It keeps you in the game, especially Nola at his age. His velo, his velocity, how hard he's throwing is coming down. However, he is managing that by being very acute with where he is pitching. He still deceives the hitters, but his velo coming down is a concern because it means the hitters can read his pitches more.
And you mean by velo, you mean velocity, i.e. speed.
Velocity. So that's coming down. Wheeler's has been down a tick.
Not the nicotine pouches you can get called velo, which, you know, some people do.
Yeah, it's true. No, that's true. No, we are talking velocity. We are definitely talking velocity. JT Real Muto, catcher, spends his whole game on his knees. Also springs into action, trying to ping with the runners out, running from between bases, calling games. I think his at-bats are now starting to rapidly decline because of it. And Bryce Harper's getting on.
Didn't he hit an absolute monster a few weeks ago, or was that Castellanos?
Oh, Bryce or Kyle?
No, JT Realmuto. Didn't he hit a monster?
He did. His one only home run this season was an absolute beast. Yeah, the fields genuinely don't go well when weather's cold. Ironically, now when it really warms up from end of May, June, the fields usually do catch hot and get on fire. Kyle Schwarber's getting on, also hitting free agency this year. That's a bit of concern. Bones also hitting free agency. The wind, so
you got to win it this year, Dave. That's what I'm hearing, buddy.
We have got some youngsters coming through, but with youngsters and prospects, there's no guarantee they're going to turn out what you think they're going to turn out into.
Yeah,
Bryce was brought in to win us the trophy. So was Trey. We splashed the money. The bullpen really needs addressing. But that's something for the trade deadline to be done because we can't do anything now.
Can I ask quickly? This is something I always see floated about, and this is probably from an NBA perspective because naturally, one of the best bits of the NBA, and it's the same with all the sports, is the trade aspect, and it always seems to get floated around amongst Phillies fans. Mike Trout, Philadelphia native. Is that ever going to happen, or is that just
we all wish, but the Angels will want the world for him, and the Angels themselves are still clinging on.
Can you force a trade in the NFL? You can.
That's a great question as well.
In the NFL, can you force a trade in the MLB? Like so, in the NFL, like you can do certain things to really, really make them force it. I mean, you're not very popular with the team you're leaving, but you can eventually make it happen. Does that happen in the MLB?
Not as much.
With that in mind, with Trout in mind, Ben's question.
Not that much. Trout, the agents don't allow it. The agents drive all the trade talk. What the player does is usually down to the agent. We'd have to give up at least 2 of our mega prospects. And Andrew Painter, Crawford, and Adam Miller, these guys in the minors right now who are touted to be the next big things. Signs are promising, but you don't really want to give them up because they're the guys who are going to come out and replace Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm. So you want to keep hold of them. That's the next wave of players coming through. We don't want to give those pieces up. It's kind of we're in that knife edge right now. Do we? Don't we? If Trout became available at a good price, but the thing is, everyone's going to want Mike Trout. That's the thing. If he ever became available,
he wants Philly more than any other team, arguably.
He would, but again, he wouldn't have that much. The agent has a lot of sway in where he goes and gets the best deal. Money talks. He can say he prefer Philly. It's also down to Philly to put down the right offer for him as well.
I feel like in the NBA, that probably happens the most out of all 3 teams, players wanting to go to a specific location and getting there. Would you say, Ben?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think you see it, and that's probably why I'm getting that transmitting over, because you see a lot of those hometown reunions, and also people that end up just going to Los Angeles or Miami because they want, one of those beach cities, nice place to live, big market or whatever else. So perhaps that's where it's coming from, really, here.
Bronny James signing for LeBron's team, and
there you go. It's all so easy to manufacture.
Exactly. I'd say it's different with free agency because then they do have the choice. Teams are clamoring for them. Usually, you get good offers. You pick your best offer, but you've also got a nice choice of where you want to land it. That is more down to you. when you
I
hit
would
the
say it's the
380.
same in the NFL as it is in the
Yeah.
MLB on that front, from a trade and from a free agency perspective. But I do think perhaps the NBA does a little bit more power in the players' hands to go where they want to go.
So much.
And we'll have to move on from the Phillies in a sec, but I really want to get just 2 quick questions out to you, Dave, on here. And who should we look out for as a star in the making that? And you might want to touch on some of those players you talked about in the minors, or someone in the team who you think is really going to break out that, maybe not everyone is thinking about or talking about, or isn't a star right now, I suppose.
Well, you've got the obvious is Andrew Painter, who we're hoping to
about him. Who is he? What's his role, position, age, the whole thing?
This guy's a youngster who was about to break through 2 years ago. He then suffered a horrible injury and had to have surgery and missed a whole year. Which, man, if we had him last year, that would have been incredible. He's touted to be the next big thing, and not only the next big thing, but a superstar. Signs are promising. He's having games in the lowers right now in the minors, and he's looking good. If he can reach anywhere near his potential, and we could see him from around July onwards, that would be mega for the rotation. Or
you think he could come in this year?
They are trying to push everything they can to get him in this year. And
what
that would be
Dave? What position?
Andrew Painter. Andrew Painter's the guy who they.
No, what position? What position does he play?
Pitcher, starting pitcher. He may start in the bullpen to start off with, just to get him some pitches, to see some live MLB hitters. But if he gets anywhere near his potential to have Wheeler, Nola, Christopher Sanchez, Painter, possibly, and Nola, Ranger Suarez, what a rotation that would be, especially for the playoffs as well. That's worth getting excited about, especially then if we can add to the bullpen in trade deadline. Well, pitching wins you championships, would have what we need right there. Aiden Miller is another one, and Justin Crawford. Now, Aiden Miller is an infielder playing in, at the moment, AA, which is below. So you've got single A, AA, AAA, and the majors. AA is mainly for your youngsters.
They must have got their. They must have liked batteries when they were picking all these names.
I know. Yeah, no, he's a good Duracell AA. Now, he looks. Again, if he gets anywhere near his potential, he's a plus hitter. This guy, he could be the spark. I doubt we'll see him this year. Very much doubt we'll see him this year. Same as Justin Crawford. They need to be seasoned. They can't be rushed up. It'll do no good for their development. A lot of people are saying bring up Justin Crawford now, especially now Marsh has gone down. But that will do
reaction a little bit maybe from some people.
Oh, massively. And he's not ready. He's hitting the ball hard. He's still adjusting to AAA pitching. He's still hitting the ball hard, but a lot of it on the ground. He can't elevate his hits at the moment. They're all very much ground ball on the floor. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of potential, but at the moment, he's nowhere near ready for the majors. And if he was stepped up now, it would do massive damage to his development. And
sounds like my golf game, to be honest, Dave. All on the floor, loads of speed, loads of potential, but not where it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, one quick shout out to Gabriel Rincones, Team GB's Gabriel Rincones, a guy who we're hoping to see play for Team GB. In next year's World Baseball Classic, which is like the World Cup for baseball. He would be the first active Team GB player to play for the Phillies if he made it up. So that's one name to watch out for. He came on our podcast before the season started. Great guy. Hails, grew up a lot of time in Scotland, in East Fife. Played for Scotland and talks very fondly of his memories back from growing up in Scotland,
where they make the bananas, of course. Yeah,
that's it. And he's a great guy. Still has quite a Scottish accent, and we're hoping that he's going to be the first Team GB player to represent us and the Phillies, possibly next year.
We'll have to get him on the PSI podcast some point later.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year. If he's up for it. Brilliant. And final question then, Dave. Do you know what? I'm genuinely like a little bit kid in a sweet shop here because I'm going to learn so much about baseball and the Phillies and the Sixers. Like, I can already tell this is going to be, a great thing. If the Phillies win the World Series, and you can only give me one, if you can only give me one person, who will be the most important person to make it happen? Now, is it 7 games, the World Series?
Wow.
Right?
What? Yeah, World Series is one.
One player.
you want it to be the showman, the magic man, Bryce Harper. You know, and he has given us already some magical playoff moments. But pitching wins you championships, and you need that rotation and bullpen to keep you in the games. Bryce Harper can give you that magic, but it's all for nothing if you're way behind in games already.
You lose it with the pitchers, basically. You can win it with the runners, but you can lose it with the pitchers.
And that's why last year it was so frustrating. The last 2 years have been so frustrating in the playoffs because the pitching was good. It kept us in the games, but the bats were lifeless. You'd want it to be Bryce. For me personally, it was my boy Bomer. What a redemption story that would be if he came alive in the playoffs.
You'd have a boner for Bomer if that happened. Yeah.
I would never get over it. But Bryce Harper, he's a man who is charged up and wants to give Philly that moment. And
he does.
Sometimes it bites him in the ass because he overtries. That was the problem. Everyone wanted to be that hero and give you that spark, and they were overswinging at everything. Their at-bats were terrible. They were trying to swing for the fences every time. The basics and fundamentals went out the window, and it just spiraled and fell apart. I'm going to say, but I want it to be Bomer. What a redemption story that would be.
Nice. Like Hoskins a couple of years ago. And
I was there. That was one of the great moments of my life.
Right. Brilliant stuff, Dave. Brilliant stuff. Great insights into where we are. And, as we do more of these podcasts, we can get more updates and recaps in the games, which are happening. I'll touch on the Eagles. I won't spend a lot of time on them because I want to give Ben some airtime here as well on the 76ers. So just briefly, of course, if you don't know, where have you been? If you're listening to a Philly Sports podcast, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, our second Super Bowl win in 8 years, and our third appearance to the Super Bowl in 8 years. Jalen Hurts silenced the critics, which were far and wide throughout Philadelphia, throughout Pennsylvania, and throughout the United States of America. This sounds like I'm reading from a script, but I'm really not. And he really did silence those critics. Sirianni silenced those critics. Everyone stepped up. Saquon Barkley had the season of a lifetime behind one of the best offensive lines in football. And Big Dick Vic Fangio, who now might replace Big Dick Nick Foles in the Big Dick conversation in Philly. He had the defense playing just sensational. They were dogs all over the field. It was embarrassing for the Chiefs. They got absolutely embarrassed. I think it was 40-6 at one point, right? There's a bit of stat padding going on when they pulled the Eagles starters out of the game, and they got some injury time scoring to pad out their stats, but they got absolutely embarrassed. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Watching that at Passyunk, like my first proper Super Bowl experience, let alone for the Eagles, but in general, like I stayed up for the Super Bowl, watched it at home a couple of times, but to be at Passyunk with just hundreds, near on thousands.
There was over 1,000 people there. Yeah,
it was electric, and I got that pick six. Like I've never celebrated a non Phillies or Brighton goal or anything like that like that before in my life. That was hysteria, absolute hysteria. And I still watch the video I got of it, and it gives me goosebumps, like genuinely. And then watching just the Eagles demolish the Chiefs, it was just in terms of just a sporting moment, was just absolutely incredible. And to be part of that and watch that with you guys as well. And again, watching how much that meant to you guys, I'm like, God damn it, I wish that was for the Phillies, but what the best experience.
That's sort of jealousy. Yeah, I got exactly the same thing.
A little bit of jealousy, but also it was amazing just to see how happy it made Philadelphia, Philly sports fans, because you do feel you're all one big family. And it was I was trying to watch from the sidelines. It's their moment. But I couldn't stop smiling that whole game, just looking around, trying to take it all in and how much it meant. Because obviously, I'd be in tears if the Phils won the World Series. I won't deny it. But to see,
I cried a lot that night.
You did. Just see that same emotion from yourself, from Seamus, from everybody else. People again had come from all over Europe to be at Passyunk Avenue in London to watch that Super Bowl.
Yeah, we met up with Seamus earlier on that day to watch
what a guy.
rugby in a different pub. Yeah, great guy.
And it was just awesome. It was awesome to witness those scenes, and it was one of the best sporting experiences I've had.
when I knelt down and hugged Seamus on the floor when the result came in, and we just embraced, like, it gives me goosebumps just even thinking about that moment. And because like during that game, even when we were killing them, even when it was like 30-6, no part of me was confident we were going to win the Super Bowl. And like a small part of me was like, oh yeah, we got this. But then it's like, it's the Chiefs.
They're sort of like Man United when they had Ferguson. They just find a way to win, the Chiefs. And that's what I was about to ask you, actually. It's like, when do you actually think you're going to win that game? Yeah,
it's we so on the post Super Bowl podcast, which was one of the, obviously, as you can imagine, the funnest podcast I think I've ever done. Everyone was asked that question, and I kind of flip-flop a little bit in my mind because, you know, for me it was when they pulled the starters, which was way late in the game. But then there was there's two moments, right, man? There was the moment where I thought, oh my God, we could do this, which I didn't have before the game like loads of people did. I knew we had a great team, but because of everything, I just thought, you know, it's Mahomes. These things, winners like this in history of sport, they go on to do great things. Your Michael Jordans, your Tom Brady's, you know, Patrick Mahomes is in that conversation, or was before this game. You know, it's almost written in history before it happened. So I just had this feeling that no matter how well we played, and I was just so worried about the fallout from if we lost and what would be said about Hurts and Sirianni and blah, blah. So when Cooper DeJean got the pick six and ran back to the house, I went, fuck, we can do this. Like we could genuinely do this. And then Zach Baum got the interception as well, flying like Superman across the air. And there were so many plays, man. I'd definitely go back and listen to our post Super Bowl podcast because it was great to talk about them all. But I would say, yeah, when we were like more than 3 scores up by 21 points or more, 7 points, then I thought, you know, we've got this, but we could still lose. When we pulled the stars, I started to believe, and then I kind of just cried for the rest of the game.
It's a question. Which one of the Super Bowl wins, not better, but which one meant more? They're obviously both been the same, but
yeah.
I can't help feel that it meant more that Chiefs one than the Patriots one. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That is a
validation of we are a good team. We didn't
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's right. I think like the first one was like relief. The first one was like relief. Like finally we got the monkey off our back. Like we beat the greatest quarterback of all time in that game, as you know, in Tom Brady. He's threw for over 500 yards. So did Nick Foles. It's mind-blowing. And I have to say, when we won that game, I'm a Newcastle fan, lifelong Newcastle fan. I'm from Ireland.
What a year you've had.
Yeah, well, I'll get into that in a second. But but at that time, when we won that first Super Bowl, never seen Newcastle win anything my entire life. Never seen Ireland football win anything in my life. A couple of Six Nations rugbies, but we always failed at the final hurl in the rugby. So I'd never experienced the elation of winning a trophy before, basically, before the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So that feeling when we won was like nothing I'd ever felt before. But this time around, because of all of the negativity around them, because of all of the you can't do this, because we've solidified this as not a dynasty yet, but like we are now one of the most feared teams in the NFL, and rightly so. We have one of the best rosters, even with the changes we made. That feeling and being able to enjoy it while also being a part of British and Irish Eagles and now PSI, and having all those people around me who cared about the Eagles. Whereas back in 2017, I just had Katie, which was great. But all of my other friends around me supported different NFL teams for the Super Bowl. But this time around, all these people had been on a journey with us, and a lot of them were there on that day. And friends like Dave, who I knew from UK Phillies before, just everyone being there and enjoying that moment. I don't think I'll ever forget that feeling. So I would say the second one, and most people in Philadelphia say the second one because they felt like they could enjoy the second one. They couldn't enjoy the first one. But that's because a lot of Eagles fans thought we were going to win this one, but I didn't.
I felt really good, but then for me, I'd be the same. If it was the Phils, I'd be nothing but worried. Even if the Phils were 9-0 ahead, I'd still have that doubt in my mind. But watching that, since that pick six, I was like, the Eagles have got this. Even and Philly teams have renowned for blowing and bottling it, but I just felt so confident. I go back and watch the vlog a few times of that day and just reliving that because it was such an awesome day and night. Early hours in the morning.
I had to try and delay it, so I had work the next morning because unfortunately it was on a school night for me, so I had to teach early the next day. So I was watching it in the gym the next morning, didn't have a clue what was going on, and it got to about halfway through that third quarter, and I just thought they're going to find a way to turn it around. But honestly, I mean, it was incredible. And then then afterwards, I then got to go on Twitter and see all the footage that you were just talking about, and it just makes you realize, oh my word, I just wish, and it's something Dave alluded to, I just wish we could have one of those moments with the Sixers.
I think that's what you got to aspire to be as part of PSI as well, right? Imagine having what happened for the Eagles at Passion Avenue and doing that for the 76ers or the Phillies. That's got to be one of our goals as part of PSI to because the Eagles, I think, will be the most followed out of the three in the UK. But by quite a way. So we want to grow the fandom over here for the Phillies and the 76ers so we can have a moment like that. And I do think it will happen. But whether that is with some of the current players or not, I'm not sure. I suppose that's what this podcast is to talk all about. Have you guys got any other questions for me about the Eagles, the draft, the upcoming season?
Yeah, I do actually. So look, when you have it's so different because when I think about it, I always tend to think always in a football lens, i.e. UK football, soccer, as it were, where you can always build on the title-winning team. You see whenever Man City have started off, then buy more players and buy more players. That's not the way American sports works. It's a bit of give and it's a bit of take. So when it comes to the draft tonight, what is it the Eagles have to look for? And where is it do you think you've potentially got, not worse, but where are those sort of holes in your team that need to be filled? And where can we look to find those picks that perhaps people aren't quite looking at? Good question. And
please feel free to ask me any questions like I did when I mentioned positions and players for Dave. But basically, the Eagles' defense is the Eagles' offense remains pretty much exactly the same as it was last year. We've lost one of our guards, Mekhi Becton, on the offensive line, who basically was a first-round pick years ago, had a terrible few years at the Jets. We brought him in. We have the best offensive line coordinator coach in the NFL, and Jeff Stoutland. So we've always had one of the best offensive lines to protect the quarterback. And he turned him into like nearly an all-pro guard in 1 year. And because it was a prove-it-year deal, he came to us up. He's now gone out. So we do have a hole to fill at right guard there. However, I don't think personally that's where the Eagles will go in the first round. The Eagles are well known for drafting in the trenches, is what they call it. And the trenches are being the defensive line and the offensive line. So the Eagles are very well known in history to draft in that area. They've had quite a few people leave. So Josh Sweat, who's been one of our premier pass rushers, sack leaders over the last kind of few years.
So are those ends, the defensive ends?
Yeah, they're the defensive ends, they're called edge or ends, defensive ends. So you've got your defensive tackles in the middle. You can have a 5 front or a 4 front or a 3 front you can have as well. But typically you'll probably have a 4 front. So you'll have 2 defensive tackles in the middle and 2 defensive edges on the outside. You can also have linebackers come up, and there can be more and more, etc. But these are the edge rushers. So Brandon Graham, he'll be a first ballot Eagles Hall of Famer. He was an edge rusher, so he retired last year. You also have Josh Sweat going from that position as well. And the year before, one of our defensive tackles, Fletcher Cox, who is also a future Hall of Famer for Eagles, also left. The Eagles replenished in the defensive tackle position with Carter and Davis, and Milton Williams came up, and now Milton Williams has gone as well. So there is quite a big gap in defensive tackle and defensive edge that the Eagles need to fill. There's a gap at right guard, which they need to fill. They've signed a few players in free agency for the defensive edge, specifically a guy called Luis Ojulari, hope I pronounced that right, from the Giants. So could this be the second year in a row that the Giants allow us to get a player that makes a difference for a Super Bowl run? I bloody well hope so. But they're we've made a few swings in free agency that they're not big splashes to So if one of them hit, great, and maybe they think one of them will hit and they won't go defensive end. But I personally think if there's a player on the board, if there is still a good enough player on the board at 32, which is our pick, last pick of the draft, and you want the last pick of the draft because it means you won the Super Bowl the year before. I think they will go defensive end, edge, pass rusher, which is all the same player. They also have a need at safety, which is a defensive back position. They play as right at the very back, the deepest defenders. We lost CJ. We let go CJ Gardner-Johnson in a trade, which was a big shock to a lot of people, including CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Did he go to the Steelers? Or am I mentioning that?
He went to the Steelers, yes. Yeah, and it's his sixth team in 6 years. So that tells you what you need to know about CJ Gardner-Johnson. Talents through the youth, character's questionable. Looks like my cats are making an appearance on the PSI podcast. There you go. That's their cat crates, by the way. They're going to be shipped out to the USA in next week. So they're here so they can get used to them before they get to go out. Apparently they're standing on top of them. Anyway, there's also a big gap at safety. Now, historically, the Eagles have not drafted safety high in the draft. But historically, the Eagles haven't paid linebackers, and they just paid Zach Bond like a massive linebacker contract. Historically, they haven't paid running backs, and they made Saquon Barkley the highest paid running back in the league. The thing about Harry Roseman is, like, while he has his ideas, he's always trying to change with the times. He never gets stuck in his ways. He's always thinking what's going to be the new thing next year before the thing next year happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if they book the trend and sign a safety. I like Malachi Starks out of Georgia. Georgia Bulldogs would be another Bulldog to add to the already massively amassed Georgia Bulldog defense that we have. Bit younger than the rest of them, so I think he might have played with one or two of those players. But basically, if he signs them, then Harry Roseman basically made a decision 4 years ago just to sign the entire record-breaking college Georgia defense, which he's pretty much nearly done already. So that would be interesting. I've given you loads of answers there. But basically, the needs are right guard on the offensive line, defensive tackle, defensive end, and a safety. I would be shocked. I will do some kind of dare if the Eagles don't sign one of those four positions.
So, in terms of the flashy positions, as it were, they're all set. They're good to go. I did see some murmurs about Goddard potentially making a move elsewhere, albeit this would be on a trade. But I do reckon that's all pretty set in terms of the receivers. Obviously, quarterbacks, running back, you're sorted there. But like I said, those flashy positions, we're all set.
Well, no, you hit the nail on the head. There's only one position on the offense which could move, and that is tight end. Oh, hang on, let's just get this cat down here. So Dallas Goedert. Let me take you back a little step here. We signed Dallas Goedert as the replacement for Zach Ertz, knowing when tight ends get over the age of 30, they tend to go downhill more rapidly than other positions. So we signed Zach Ertz's replacement, Dallas Goedert, when Zach Ertz was younger than Dallas Goedert is right now, which makes you think the Eagles will be most likely, certainly signing his replacement, notwithstanding that he has a £14 million cap hit this year. So I think, and in press conferences over the summer, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni basically came out and said they don't expect Dallas Goedert to be in the Eagles dressing room next year. I probably wouldn't have been that overt about it because then you can get him. Other teams think they can get him for cheaper. I think Dallas Goedert will be traded to someone. We'll probably pick up a fifth or a sixth round pick because his cap hit will be so high that we won't get the value that he's probably worth. The thing with Dallas Goedert is he's been injured every single season for the Eagles for at least 3, 4, 5 games. So there's a little bit of unreliability about him. But when he's fit and healthy, he's a top 5 tight end in the league. There are rumors. I mean, I said I did my hat if we signed any other position in the first round. There are rumors of maybe making a splash for someone like Mason Taylor at tight end, which would be bonkers and scary for everyone else in the league because then you would have Jalen Hurts, the best offensive line in football, the best running back in football in Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and they reckon one of the best tight ends to come out of the class in a while. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I see the Eagles picking up a tight end in the later rounds. Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green College has been talked about a lot on the British and Irish Eagles podcast. You could pick him up in the 3rd or 4th round. I think you're more likely to see the Eagles spend a 3rd or a 4th on a tight end and hope to get some big upside on him. But yeah, I'd be surprised. I mean, I did have a wild theory that like AJ Brown could be traded on draft day. You just never know. Something happens every year that you just don't expect with Harry Rosen. I don't think that would happen. I think we would go into negative cap equity, which wouldn't be allowed if we did that. So something will happen, Ben. I'm just not sure what. I don't think it'll be on offense.
Well, I've seen some good things about the tight end class. I mean, I know there's Ferguson from Oregon and Gunnar Helm, Texas. It's my alma mater, so I'm always going to big up any Longhorn, but he could potentially fall to you. So it would be interesting to see how that goes. But I did see those Goddard rumors, and it's like I said, it just makes draft day that much more interesting, doesn't it?
It does. I'm just thinking now, does Archie Manning pay for Texas? Is he going to be the quarterback this year?
He does, yeah. He's another one of the Manning class of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So he's going to have the helm, as it were. Pardon the pun.
Love that. That'll be exciting for you to watch. Yeah, no, look, it does make it really interesting. Just for those listening in who don't know the Eagles picks, I'll just quickly run through them. They've got pick 32 in round 1, pick 64 in round 2. Pick 96 in round 3, pick 134 in round 4, and then they have 4 5th-round picks. They pick up 161, 164, 165, and 168. So they got 4 picks in 7 picks, which is mad when you consider there's supposed to be 32 spots between picks, and they've got 4 and 7. Be prepared for a couple of those 5th-round picks to be loaded up into the cannon for a trade-up somewhere.
So when the dust settles... Oh, sorry, go on, Dave, go on.
I was going to say, is it like baseball where it's like they have one night just the top round picks and the rest of the picks then done the day and day after, or is it all done in one night?
Exactly that. So the first round of the draft is all that will be on tonight. Starts at 1 a.m. UK time, and they will do all 32 picks. And there is a very likely scenario that any Eagles fans listening in will be staying up tonight till 4:30 when the Eagles 32 pick comes in, and Harry Rodman trades back out of the first round, and they've stayed up all night for nothing. That could genuinely happen. Yeah, and then tomorrow it starts at 12 noon, midnight. So 12 kind of Saturday morning, you know what I mean? But tomorrow night, that's rounds 2 and 3. And then on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern time, so 5 p.m. GMT, you'll have rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, and they'll be rapid. Whereas the round 1 tonight, like the full 10
big showcase, right?
Yeah, huge. It's one of the biggest parts of the NFL. The Super Bowl, probably the second is the draft behind that in terms of a showcase and event. What's really interesting is there's one guy, Jalen Milroe, who's a quarterback who's been invited to the green room, they call it, which is where people who think they're going to be drafted in the first round go, so they can actually walk up onto stage and get their jersey. Only 17 players are going to the green room tonight in the NFL because you just don't know where you're going to be picked. And of those 17 players is Jalen Milroe, and no single person in the world has Jalen Milroe mocked to anyone in the first round.
Wow, so he could just be left sat there like awkwardness.
That would be awful in his Sunday best.
Yeah, it happened to Will Levis 2 years ago, but everyone thought Will Levis was going to be picked in the first round. He didn't get picked up to like mid-round 2 in the end. So he was sat there with his girlfriend. It was really awkward.
Oh, man, brutal.
It's really unforgiving.
It's like it's being at school and not being picked for the PE team.
Yeah, in front of the world stage.
Yeah.
So when that dust settles, obviously everyone's had their picks. Naturally, there's going to be a few trades beyond that, and indeed on draft day.
Yeah.
Who do you worry about the most about taking your title?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the Lions have been building something for years now. I feel like they're getting close. Not sure whether their quarterback has what it takes to get them over the line. You look at Josh Allen, one of the best, strongest quarterbacks in the league. Hasn't always had all the weapons around him. Has the ability to put his team on his back. Commanders, Jaden Daniels is good. I'm not sure they have the weapons. Let's see what the draft comes out with. Bears, Caleb Williams is great, but he's too green too early. I mean, to be honest, if I was going to go into the year, and think, who could come and take the title back off us, it would be the Chiefs. It might be a cop-out answer, but I still think Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the NFL, even though Jalen Hurts beat the living shit out of him and has beaten him a number of times now. I still think he is. And Andy Reid is one of the best, most brightest minds in the NFL. So as long as those two people are within the Chiefs organization, and Steve Spagnuolo, who's their defensive coordinator as well, is one of the best in the league. Those three key elements, even with Travis Kelce going now, they'll find someone else. As long as they're there, it's a little bit like Belichick and Brady when they were together. As long as they're together, I think the Chiefs will always be relevant. I hope I'm wrong and they become irrelevant, but I think they will.
I always find in American sports it's the hardest to win back-to-back championships in any of the major sports, isn't it? It's the way it falls with a draft again, and then teams can rebuild and then be pretty much complete. It's so tough to win.
But the Chiefs did that before, so they were on for a three-peat. That was the whole.
That's right. Yeah.
And they made a whole documentary series about the three-peat, only to watch them get absolutely blown away in the final, which is just magical, really.
Yeah.
Cool. I just conscious of time. We better get to the 76ers because otherwise we're going to rack up a 2-hour podcast, which for the first one probably won't appetize everyone. Good stuff. So Ben, talk to us about the 76ers. And I'm sorry I have to say these words. The worst record and season since 2016, my friend.
It is a pretty diseased franchise. I genuinely think.
What a phrase!
I think the best thing I can use to describe this team, if anyone's not familiar with American sports, if there was a team in the NBA that was anything like Tottenham Hotspur, they are the most Spursy team. Like they have all the ingredients to actually do pretty well. Good players, good individuals, world-class facilities, but consistently underperform, especially when it matters most. They are a Spursy team. They are incredibly Spursy. Now, look, there are a couple of things that didn't fall our way. Injuries are injuries, but the thing is, it's being able to foresee that and prevent it. So allowing someone like Joel Embiid to go to the Olympics, which, look, in one hand, you're like, I really want him to go and win something, because on the balance probabilities, he probably won't win anything with us. I'd love him to, but he probably won't. And it would be great to see him.
Can I just touch on that just for a second? Because it's one of my questions, but now that you brought his name up, I do want to go there. Because I feel like the Joel Embiid thing is very linked to the way it's been going for the 76ers, both well in past seasons and then not so well. Last season, obviously, there's another person I'm sure you'll talk about who you won't be very happy with from last season, but you just said you don't think Joel Embiid will win a title with the 76ers. For those listening in who don't know who Joel Embiid is, he's one of the best centers the league has had in years, and has been MVP elect on a number of seasons and hasn't won, I don't think, the MVP. Did he win it one year?
Yeah, he won one. Yeah,
but he could have won. He could have won 3 or 4.
I think if he had more full seasons, he would have had a couple more under his belt. Yeah.
So when you say he's not going to win, is that because you see the 76ers trading him? Is that because you just think he is not going to get over the line with the 76ers? What's your?
I think he could win one if he had a competent franchise that could support him.
Disease team and incompetent franchise. I'm loving this, Ben. This is like a WIP interview already.
No, I love the guy. I absolutely love the guy. And the thing is, people love to get on his back so quickly. And fine, there are things that naturally irk you about him. But then you've got to take a step back. You've got to gain a bit of perspective. He's a professional sportsman. Professional sportsmen need people to literally get in their way and say, you are not going on the court, because they will go and play on a broken ankle, a broken leg, a broken anything. And we weren't strong enough to say, you can't play. We let him play. And as a result, what happens is he goes and makes matters worse. He re-injures himself. He's not healthy to go. And we are a team that is so reliant on one bloke. And that's where the franchise is to blame. You've got to create a team that's probably going to know, yeah, we're going to miss him for 20, 30 games. Let's try and make sure we can diversify our game a bit and win games without Joel Embiid. And we don't do that. Or rather, we think, you know what we're going to have? We're going to have Paul George. And no one does that. You know, when I did an article, which you can find on PSI, and I found over the last... Yeah, there you go. Over the last 5 years, Paul George has averaged less games per season than Joel Embiid. And we thought that was the guy that would help plug the issues in relation to injuries. So it's just, if I can do this research as just a bloke with a laptop in his flat,
some teacher called Ben in the UK. Yeah.
Exactly. Why is it that people who are paid 6 figures, 7 figures a year can't figure this out as well? Yeah. So the real problem comes from upstairs.
Didn't he also say, Ben? I'm just trying to remember here. Wasn't there also some kind of comment that he didn't care about winning anymore, and all he cared about was money? Didn't George say something like that as well?
I think there's certainly something like that has been said, and I think that's been alluded to. You can think, I can sort of get that vibe from just the way he's operating as well. It's little things like Sam picked it up on our podcast. He noticed that Paul George was complaining about traffic in Philly on the day that they won the Super Bowl. Where, what are you doing? Do you know where you live? He's so
no sense
and sheltered. And, this is a blue-collar city. This is a city that orientates itself around its sports teams. You don't, if you can't ingratiate yourself into these teams and into the wider community, then don't turn up here. Yeah. And I think this is indicative of the problem. You've got to find the right player for the right city as well, which is, I'm not sure if this is just a basketball-specific thing. But
what about Maxey, though, Ben? Because you said a couple of things here, reliant on one player. I mean, obviously we had Ben Simmons. I mean, how that ended. We signed Maxey, and I've got a Maxey jersey upstairs. That's the jersey that I have, is a Maxey 0. Was he not around this year? Did he get injured a lot? Or was he just not able to take over games?
He got injured, and there's a mixture of everything you've just said. He got injured, but also we said, right, Joel's not here. Paul George isn't here. By the way, you're going to have to drop at least 35, 40 points for us to have any chance of winning this game, because your supporting cast is unreliable, old, past it, any of the above adjectives. And consequently, that's such a weight and such a burden to put on young shoulders. Yeah. Tyrese Maxey's job right now should be, you're an all-star caliber player, play your own game, develop at your own pace. Meanwhile, these two other all-stars who have been around the block for a while, they'll do all the heavy lifting. You just go at your own pace. But instead, we've assembled a dysfunctional side that has meant that he can't grow at his own pace. He's going to have to grow it very quickly. And what does that mean? He's growing poor habits, bad shooting habits, and he's getting, I think, fundamentally and arguably, his fundamentals have got worse as the season has gone on, because he's having to force shots. He's not playing Tyrese Maxey basketball.
Right. That's sad for me to hear, because he was a shining light coming through for 76ers.
He's still a fantastic player. He will be good. He will be good. But this is, I think, the beauty of this season is, and it really is doom and gloom to some degree. But do you know what? There's so much bizarrely to look forward to, because it is that rude awakening needed to essentially be like, right, this has gone so poorly beyond even the most cynical in the Sixers community wouldn't have ever predicted this.
So how are you, Ben? Because we're still getting to know each other a little bit here, right? Where would you put yourself on give me a 1 to 10 scale of an optimist or a cynicist? When it comes to, I am a 10 on the Eagles. I think most people know that, even to my detriment at times. But where do you sit?
Well, I would like to preface this, but before the Sixers, the only other team I properly supported was Southampton Football Club. So I could only be cynical. So I unfortunately put myself.
Well, as we get to know each other here, Ben, Southampton was my first ever game, which probably won't delight Dave. It was Gianfranco Zola was playing, Mark Hughes was playing. I think Chelsea won 1-0 because my dad was in Southampton when I grew up, so I spent a lot of time in Southampton. I went to a lot of Saints games. Yeah,
I only live in Southampton. I don't support. I can't stand Southampton. I hate.
I know you can. Yeah, I know.
Oh right, I was going to say no.
No, I said you're not going to like the fact that I went. That was my first game.
Oh right. I was going to say.
Yeah. No, I know. Brighton fan through and through.
Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think anyone hates Southampton more than me at the moment. So I win in this.
Your own fans, yeah.
But
what we got to look forward to, Ben? What we got to look forward to? What positions do the 76ers need to be drafting? What position have they got in the draft? What are their needs?
So our lottery comes out in May. So the way in which the draft operates slightly differently in the NBA. So in order to avoid people tanking, for those who don't know the term, that basically means purposefully losing, get better draft odds. Therefore, you're going to be more likely to get the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Now, we used to be accused of that a lot, especially when we had back-to-back first round picks, first round number 1 picks. So they alternated it. So basically, if you were outside of the playoffs, you have odds. If you had the worst record, you have higher odds to get the number 1 pick, but that doesn't guarantee you the number 1 pick. It gets you roughly a 15% chance of landing the number 1 pick, and then that will go down an extra 1 or 2% per team, right the way down to 1% or so. So the Sixers have, I believe, a 10% chance of the number 1 pick, and a 60% chance of retaining their pick, because this pick, this is where I might get a bit technical, they traded away to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a top 6 protection, meaning if the pick falls anywhere between number 1 and number 6, it's theirs. If it goes anywhere below from 7 and under, it's Oklahoma City's. So this is on a knife edge. We've got so much to look forward to if that pick conveys to us. If it doesn't, we are in so much trouble. So this is what I mean by the ineptitude of this franchise. We are now relying on our biggest get out of jail free card as if quite literally some lottery balls fall our way. This is what paid professionals have led to. This is our get out of jail free. This is how we solve the crisis. It's gambling. You're
landing on parking on the Monopoly board, right?
But even then, Ben, do you trust the people in the franchise to make the right decisions? Do you trust them to turn it around? Because I know some 76ers fans who have lost all faith until the owners leave, until there's a massive shake-up behind the scenes. They're not interested because they don't trust the coaches, the backroom staff, and the owners more than anything. They don't believe trust the process. They're out basically. Do you trust them? Do you trust them to, like you said, the wake up call? Do you think they will get this right? They've got to, haven't they? Really?
There is layers to this. So if we start right from the top, we got the owner Josh Harris, and Josh Harris owns the Philadelphia 76ers. He owns the Washington Commanders. He owns the New Jersey Devils, and he owns Crystal Palace. Now that reeks someone who just wants a portfolio of sports teams to boost his own ego, because as far as I'm concerned, owning 3 of those teams, especially the American-based ones, that makes 0 sense to me. And also, he was celebrating Commanders touchdowns against the Eagles, I believe, in
not a good look.
And I'm like, that is so tone deaf. Like, what are you doing? And that suggests that to me, because he doesn't care enough. He's not a Philadelphia fan because he doesn't care enough. I don't think he has the best interest of the franchise at heart. So that's the first bit. The second bit, however, General Manager Daryl Morey, he has done a lot of things wrong. He's played Moneyball. He's played sort of Billy Bean type GM style, where he's just playing the statistics, and it hasn't quite worked. However, what he is good at is drafting. He's the reason we got Jared McCain. He is the reason we got Adem Bona. He's good at finding these sort of around the edges picks that have actually been really good for us. I trust him to draft. Do I trust him to assemble a team in the off season? I'm not sure, because all he did last season was assemble people north of 35 years old, people who were well past it. And that was our big problem, a lack of athleticism, a lack of size, and just a lack of NBA ability, really. So I would say there's aspects, yes, but I am still very, very, very skeptical about what they can do in assembling that NBA team.
So you're pretty on the fence.
Again, the cynicism creeps in because he's not done it. He got close in Houston, but, finishing second place, or not even second place, to get into the conference finals is not enough to make me think that this guy has it in him, because I think he's on borrowed time now.
Well, let me put this scenario out to you. If the die falls to where we want it to, and we do get a top 6 pick, what position are you drafting of need?
Well, I would say we need a thing called a wing. And when we say wing, that is essentially someone that can play the small forward / power forward. Yeah, you're usually about 6'6" to 6'10". Now in the NBA now, it all orientates itself around 3 and D players, i.e., high percentage 3-point shooter, good defensive player.
Yeah.
Now, you get some wings, like the Kawhi Leonards of the world, of the LA Clippers, who obviously do that, but do so much more in terms of playmaking. LeBron James, the same. But those are the high, top-tier, upper echelon players. I'm not saying I'm expecting that. All I want is someone that can maybe get 10 to 12 points a game, good defense, 35 to 40% on threes, and that can just be a solid rotational piece that can maybe even develop into those sort of what I'd like to call fringe all-stars, if you will, just sort of the best
fringe all-star,
the best sort of squad players. We don't need A-listers, we don't need divas, prima donnas. We just need people, hard workers that are going to do their job to the best of their ability, because that's what wins you titles now. It's not having the most all-stars, it's about having the most people that fit the role that you need them to play in.
Do you know much about the players coming through in the draft? Have you got your eye on anyone in particular in that top 6?
March Madness has given us a bit of information. Cooper Flagg is the unanimous number 1 pick. So if we landed that number 1 pick, he absolutely will take Cooper Flagg. He's from Duke, and if anyone knows anything about Duke graduates, they just always translate well. Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, JJ Redick, just to name a few, that they just always do fantastically well. So it's wherever's Duke's involved, and you get someone coming in from there, you grab them. And Cooper Flagg is the one for me. Ace Bailey has been floated around. His stock is lowered ever so slightly, but he's 6'10", athletic wing, can shoot. Again, looking like a really solid pick potentially. It just depends see how other people value him. But based off of what we want, we don't need a point guard. We don't need a shooting guard. We don't need a center. So Bailey makes an awful lot of sense to me. And there are a couple of others in the sort of periphery. Goodness me, I forgot one of the guys' names, so I will have to apologize on that front. But what we are looking at predominantly is just people that fit the mold.
Yeah.
Fit that mold of wing defender, 3-point shooter.
You need a better squad, right? You need a very good player, a top 6 player who's going to add depth and value, the fringe all-star kind of vibe that you talked about to complement the team. And with that in mind, is Embiid going to be playing for the 76ers next year? Is that 100% certain?
So he had surgery. Now, anytime he has surgery, someone comes out and says he'll be back at this time. So whatever time they say, you normally double it, and then some is probably the right number. Whether or not this will solve anything remains to be seen.
Is it like Celsius to Fahrenheit, basically?
Yeah. It's so unreliable. And the thing is, the amount of pressure he puts on his joints, but it's always lower body, his knees, meniscus has been a real issue. When you think of like 7'2" frame, 300 odd pounds or whatever, that goes up and comes back down and falls with such force, all it takes is it to just fall ever so slightly, and boom, you're back to square one. So he's injured. I think he'll miss the start of next season, maybe be back by November, December. But then we're left in that same sort of purgatory. It's like, well, do we rush him back because we need a win? Can we win without him? Have we assembled a good enough squad? Do we need to ramp him up? It's so many questions.
Do you think all these injuries have also infected do you think he's past his peak? Do you think he'll get back to his very best? Because all these injuries are going to start taking a toll. There's no doubt about it.
It's hard to gauge where he's at, because what is a healthy Embiid at? Like, when was the last time we saw him healthy? I guess by that logic, he must be past his peak. And it's a real shame. And I think someone put it, I think too often, and I think this is what I really frustrates me with the Sixers. We still see him as a commodity, not a human being. This man has broken himself for this team.
Literally.
And to the point where when he's in his 50s, I would not be surprised if we see him walking around with like a cane. I think he's gone through that much trouble and toil. So I do think he's got to be on the decline. Centers of that size, they're not long for this world. When you look at Shaq, he started declining quite rapidly. Same with Dikembe. I mean, Kareem, he managed to age quite nicely, but he was quite a skinny frame. When you're that larger frame, it takes its toll quite dramatically. And I think he's naturally going to be on the slowdown. And either that or he's got to adapt his game so it takes less of a demand off of him. But other teams guard him with such force, and they really try and bounce back off of him and really give him as much as they get. And it always encourages those injuries by extension.
Right, let's end this Sixers thing on a positive note here, Ben.
Okay.
Right? I'm gonna give you a positive act. Right, so best case scenario, the 76ers have a top 6 pick. They get one of your fringe all-star guys. Perhaps Bailey sounds like he would be a good fit if we could get him. That's kind of what I'm hearing or taking away from this. Say we get Bailey. Embiid's back and he's as good as he can be. Maxi's back and there's not as much pressure on him and he's as good as he can be. Does that team, with the other tools we have around, is that team good enough to, fast forward 10 months and we're going, blimey, 10 months ago we were thinking this franchise was in the gutter. Could they make a run at it if all those things happen?
I think we can. It might surprise you. I genuinely think we can, because one of the best things that's happened from the tank, is that we've had to play the young guys, which Nick Nurse has been reluctant to do. So we'll have Jared McCain back. We've forgotten about him. We'll have him back and firing, ready to go.
Dancing and singing on social media.
Exactly, getting back on TikTok.
I like that kid.
He's a good lad, isn't he? He's fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it.
We'll have Justin Edwards has been brilliant, looking at 18 points per game. Again, that small forward / power forward that can shoot the three, defend well, plays hard. Adam Bona has been a really good backup center to Joel Embiid, and it's backup center role, which we have been awful with. The last playoffs when we lost to the Knicks, Joel Embiid had positive on-off numbers. Our backup center had negative on-off numbers. We lost the whole series. Go figure. It's not all on Paul Reed, who was the backup center at the time, but you can see where the problems emanate from. We've got a lot of good young players that have been forced to step up. They have stepped up as far as I'm concerned. We've made some really nice trades. Gershon Yabusele we brought from France. Quentin Grimes we got from Dallas Mavericks.
The positivity is like emanating out of you now. I knew we could drag it out of you at the end, Ben. This is great.
Absolutely do it. It is a couple of extra players in the offseason, a good draft, hopefully. Paul George being good. Not even like amazing, just good. And then I tell you what, this can be a good team. This can be a team that gets to the conference finals. Do we win from there? Maybe, but we've got a chance. We genuinely have a chance. And, to quote The Office, I am ready to get hurt again. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
That's the Philly sports motto, isn't it? We're ready to get hurt again.
It's got to be.
Let's get all the Philly sports teams in the playoffs this year. It would be great to have the Sixers, the Phillies, the Flyers, the Eagles all going for it again. It would. Yeah.
I don't know, but you touched on it a little bit earlier on about what a year I've had so far. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Newcastle won the first cup, which is my team in 1,000 years. And Rory McIlroy won the Masters, and I'm a huge Rory McIlroy fan as being Irish. So, let's have that for PSI. Right, folks. I think I'll round us up here. And before I go any further, just a reminder of who we are, PSI, and what we're about. I said at the start, if you go on www.phillysportsinternational.com, you can sign up to be a member of PSI Philly Sports International. What does that mean? It means entry into fantasy leagues to win signed merch and prizes, priority access to watch-alongs in the UK for all Philly sports teams. And when we do those, we have raffles, we have giveaways. Dave mentioned the Manchester one in just over 2 weeks' time coming up. So, get involved in that. It's not far to go. Pretty much anywhere you are in the UK when you think about big.
Only 4.5 hours from me. I'm in Southampton. It's nothing.
Wow, that really is quick. What are you going via Concorde? No, that's awesome.
My call
Patrick and Gavin, of course, you get 20% off your food and drink with your membership card there. Last year, there was over 50 chances people had to win Loch Lomond whiskies or Ben Lomond gins. They're also sponsors of PSI. We do weekly in-season giveaways as well for all teams. Won't be able to do them for all of the 76ers and Phillies, otherwise we would be broke. But
yeah, I've
we'll
got a
definitely
box of giveaways upstairs to get rid of. So
That's
there'll be
true.
plenty of Phillies
Maybe there
giveaways.
will be one. Maybe there will be one every game. We got a brilliant PSI newsletter, which has all of our blogs, updates. There's the website. You can get that on as well. We're going to be doing annual trips to Philadelphia to watch games, and it really is the Philly experience of a lifetime, meeting with ex-players, meeting with celebrities, going to places that even people in Philadelphia who live there their whole life don't get to do. Competitions, raffles, giveaways, access to the PSI WhatsApp group, which is just brilliant. We've got 6 different chats, I think, at the moment. We've got your Eagles, we've got 76ers, we've got Phillies, and we've got Flyers. Flyers will be more a part of PSI moving forward when we find someone who knows enough about them to run that side of things. So if you're listening in and it's something you fancy giving a shot and you're a good human being, which is also a prerequisite to getting into PSI, then hit us up and let us know. On game day, the chats just go off. I mean, given there's like 160 odd games you said for the Phillies, Dave, like there's still like hundreds and hundreds of messages like every single game night on that WhatsApp chat. I know when Eagles play, because there's only 17 games, there can be thousands on there. We talked about the guides. We're going to be doing that digital tourist guide to Philadelphia. And while this hasn't been announced to anyone yet, and Mick will probably have a go at me, I'm moving to, well, this part has been announced. I'm moving to Philadelphia in 5 sleeps.
What?
Yep, 5 sleeps. And when I'm there, I'll be going to Mitchell and Ness and to all the eateries and saying, hey, we're going to drive traffic to your guys' place, and you can give us discounts for your stores as well. That's I guarantee you I will get a lot of that stuff done when we're out there, stadium tours and the like. And also access to the podcast, which you can get anywhere. But if you're a member, you can ask questions for us to talk about and ask, and much, much more. Please go on the website and sign up to become a member. We would love to chat to you, be with you, become friends with you, and enjoy Philly sports with you as we go through our first inaugural year, which leaves me only to say, Dave, Ben, what an absolute pleasure it is to have episode 1 of season 1 of the Philly Sports International podcast.
First of many.
In the books.
First of many. Go Phils, go Sixers, go Eagles, go Flyers. We'll be back soon, and look out for all the giveaways, competitions that we have going on over the next couple of weeks. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.